In a world where grown adults look far too deeply into children's cartoons, one analyst will uncover the fate of one character long thought to have been wiped out. No, not him. No. No. A little more. Stop. That one. Right there.
So, you thought all of Pinkie's clones were gone? Ha 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 ha! Oh no. No, they're not. And that's not even quite the point of this video, because a clone is actually present in a recent episode. And no, it's not an animation error or a stretch of reasoning. In fact, the mirror pool is being referenced right as she shows up. There! Pinkie has a surviving clone. Well, I mean, I guess it could technically be a changeling too, but, you know, that's pretty unlikely. And occasionally, there's another character who shows up now and again, who happens to also be in this same episode. Someone who looks an awful lot like Pinkie. I'm not definitively saying that that's a clone, but the similarities are pretty striking. So now we know. Pinkie has at least one, maybe more, surviving clones. And it's no wonder that they're in hiding after Twilight and the gang decided that the best course of action would be to eradicate the clones from existence. It's really strange how after all of their cheesy, soul-seeking lessons on morality, none of them even hesitated to wonder if maybe these clones are just as real and just as alive as the original. Well, maybe it's not that strange. So what have they been doing all this time? I mean, you know, other than dancing, fashion, and espionage. It's hard to say, but other than that one in Saddle Row, it's hard to even claim these to be clones without any evidence beyond their similar appearance. It's easier to prove it by looking at their behavior. For example, the clones, initially at least, seemed to have terrible memory, in addition to lacking all standard memory that Pinkie had. They couldn't remember anyone's names to save their lives, which is quite ironic seeing as how Pinkie's memory is incredibly good, as I pointed out in my first video, right there, if you want to watch it. So if there are any moments in which these characters show evidence of having terrible memory, we can assume that they're clones. And they never exhibit any notable behavior. Well, what do you expect from background characters? However, there's someone that does exhibit moments of terrible memory. And who is that? None other than Pinkie Pie.
But Pinkie Pie...
No, I'm not suggesting that Pinkie has been a clone ever since that episode. That would be depressing. So, what's happening? The episode I am referring to is Castlemania, an episode I've talked about recently regarding the Pony of Shadows. Here, the six are of the belief that Pinkie is off helping to ring a school bell, and they all independently, coincidentally, end up wandering to the old castle with different goals in mind. In the end, a dark figure in a cloak ends up being Pinkie. And what's the first thing she says?
Did you know I can totally play the organ? Because I didn't!
Really? You're a one-man band that can play all sorts of stuff, but you didn't know you could play the organ? Yeah, comic relief and all that, but it's very unusual. It's not just lacking memory, it's lacking knowledge about oneself. Knowledge someone should definitely know, unless you have the memory of someone effectively born yesterday. This isn't just a joke, this is a legitimate question. She's asking if they knew she could play the organ. Why? This Pinkie is not Pinkie. This is a clone. Meanwhile, Pinkie is either with some other friends, wondering where everybody went, or maybe she's still ringing the school bell. And of course she's not gonna let on that she is a clone, because the other very odd thing that there is to be noticed about this Pinkie is her cloak. As usernamed background pony number 567A pointed out in a picture, this cloak is exactly the same as another cloak we see worn by another character later on. No one too crazy, you know, just Lord freaking Tirek! These tears are identical. This is the same cloak that our so-called Pinkie wore in the old castle. This begs more questions than it answers. How and why is Tirek wearing an old cloak of Pinkie's? Or fake Pinkie? What has happened? I'm glad you asked, fellow viewer. You see, I mulled over this, and mulled, and thought, until finally I gave up and made that video you all saw a little bit ago. And then I thought and thought until finally it's hit me. Well, it more just kind of popped up in an article I was reading, but nevertheless, it hit me. There's something off about the entire plot and attack made by Tirek. Something just doesn't balance out. At first, Discord seemed like the absolute most powerful character, right? He can bend reality and open trans-dimensional portals, for Pete's sake. Now this guy can beat Discord by opening his mouth. I have a hard time accepting that. I mean, why didn't Discord teleport away? Why didn't he turn Tirek inside out or something? Why was Tirek strong enough to do this in the first place? The princesses thought Tirek to be a problem that could be dealt with. They thought, we're stronger than him, so, you know, princess better than Tirek. But then we find out that Discord joins him, and all hope is lost. Not because Tirek is any stronger, but because they can't beat Discord without the elements. So Discord is better than princesses. So if you see where I'm going with this, that means that Discord is stronger than Tirek. And yet, after Tirek takes everything, even Discord's magic, he's somehow not as strong as the power of the princesses. So let me get this straight. Princesses stronger than Tirek. Discord stronger than princesses, but Tirek plus Discord equals princesses?
That doesn't add up?
Doesn't add up? Not one bit. So what's happening? You might say Discord was taken by surprise. Oh really? The genius, master of chaos who can travel through time, didn't see that a big villain might betray him even as he was revving up to do it? And that still doesn't explain how Tirek's new power was equal to all the Alicorn magic. And Discord didn't even need Tirek's help. The elements were locked up in a tree. He could do whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted already. If he planned to take over, why help some potential rival to do it? So I says to myself, what's really happening here? Well, Discord was obviously aware of the keys for the box. He looked through their journal and bookmarked those areas in which they got their keys. He knew their significance. Obviously, he also knew that Twilight still did not have hers. So what is a reality-bending master of chaos to do? He can't just make a key or break it open. This is the same magic that powers the elements of harmony. The one thing Discord can't beat, his opposite. So observing that every key was obtained through a difficult situation pertaining to that specific element, he chose to create such a situation for the element of magic. A villain that steals magic. Yes, it was all a ruse. It was all a ruse!
But Sir, Tirek was a real villain long before the box appeared? Why would the Discord pretend conversation was something he created?
That's a really good point. So the mulling continued. But not for long, because I discovered a recently released chapter book by the name of Lyra and Bonbon and the Mayors of Smile. You know how in episode 100, Bonbon was revealed to be a secret agent? Yeah, that wasn't no one-time gag. They made a book about it, with quite a lot of implications. Though the bit that stuck out the most to me was when a certain character with quite a lot of intelligence on secret matters said Tirek was a cover-up. Not Tirek was covered up, but it was a cover-up. This single line implies that the entire incident with Tirek was a distraction for something else. Something like, say, a brash plan to obtain the last key? So let's think about this. Tirek was a real villain, long ago, who was imprisoned in Tartarus. But why did it take so long for anyone to notice he was missing since Cerberus left his post? Do they ever even check Tartarus? Which, if that's the case, then they also may have never checked his prison when they heard that he returned, to see if he was even still there, to see if his prison was truly empty. What am I saying? Just like this is not Pinkie, this is not Tirek. He never escaped. Reasons why I think this. 1. Cerberus and the Bugbear both ended up at Ponyville after escaping Tartarus. Wherever this exit to Tartarus is, it's near Ponyville. Tirek, however, is first spotted in the middle of some downtown alley. 2. How does someone as frail as this escape a metal cage without any magic? 3. If he started off near Ponyville after leaving Tartarus, how did he never hear about a fourth princess, or even see her? 4. No one in their right mind would release a major villain from the depths of Tartarus just to cover up something else.
But what's this have to do with Pink?
That's just it. This isn't Tirek. This is Pinkie's clone. Now I know what you're thinking, but stop it. Yes, this Pinkie talked to and was well aware of the Twilight Sparkle. No, this does not mean that Tirek would be aware of a fourth princess. Why? Because in that little chapter book I mentioned earlier, there's a little spell the secret agency used called Reflection Deflection. If you think about it, you can probably guess what it does. If you try to reflect on a specific memory, this spell deflects that thought. It's basically the Men in Black memory wipe. And the fellows who happen to have access to this spell are also the same exact fellows who happen to know Tirek to be a cover-up. Let me summarize. Knowing that another elemental key needed to be obtained, Discord wanted to create a situation that would put Twilight in such a position so as to create a key. The agents of Smile, who worked with Celestia, by the way, which explains the horrible plan, wouldn't ever agree to actually freeing Tirek. Making something under more controlled conditions, like a fake Tirek designed by Discord, however, would be safer. And so being's it that nobody gives two rats about a clone's life, Discord found this little guy and turned it into his makeshift Tirek, but not before Smile wiped its memories. Why use Pinkie as a template for a fake Tirek? Well, I don't really know. I mean, we haven't seen Discord create something alive from scratch. He's changed living creatures, animated the inanimate, but we've never actually seen him make life from nothing. So maybe he just wanted something alive that he could work with without feeling any remorse for, which apparently #clone lives don't matter in this universe. And so, fake Tirek was let loose to grow and rampage until eventually Discord faked his own defeat, thus giving Twilight the opportunity to obtain her key. It's why Pinkie has Tirek's cloak. It's why Tirek was able to defeat Discord. It's what Smile meant when they said Tirek was a cover-up. And just by reading this book, readers will find that Tirek was just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to secrecy and conspiracies in Equestria. This book basically proves exactly what this whole channel is about, even if the writers haven't realized themselves yet. This is a nation just oozing with secrets. Discord unlocked this box with the key of magic. But behind it is another layer. A layer of secrets. A layer of truths. A layer of magic. You're moving into a land of both shadow and substance, of things and ideas you've just crossed over
into the Twilight Zone.
And thank you to all my Patreons. All one of you. Oh, we need real mic covers. Stupid car. Freaking right now. Yeah, got a loogie.